Basalt is a rock formed in a volcano from the intense heat and pressure, and is that the reason why Citroen have chosen that to be the name of their new SUV coupe? The French company has been in India but had a slow and troubled start. The thing is, with this new product, they seem to have addressed a lot of it. So let's get straight to it. Now, when the C3 cars arrived, which the Basalt is based on, they were very under-equipped, and you could see that right at the front where you had halogen headlamps. With the Basalt, they've addressed that, and you have LED projectors. Now, in terms of style, the front end does look very similar to the Aircross, and that's a good thing because there's a lot of striking elements, as you can see. I particularly like the double chevron logo here and how it sort of extends across the grille and up into the DRL here and down into the headlights. The grille area has a very chunky opening, and you can see a lot of opening areas up front, on top rather, and down below as well. Now at the side you can clearly see this coupe look, and I have to say, if you look at the whole waistline, it is fairly flat, so it doesn't have that rising kind of look like the Curve does. And to my eyes, I actually prefer this because it avoids that kind of, hunched up look, which a lot of people actually don't like. But that's my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let's look around, of course. Now, as I was saying, the coupe roofline dips really sharply here towards the rear, and I particularly like the window line treatment, which ends in a nice pinched area here. In terms of other details, the tires, now these are different from the Aircross, and I'm really surprised to see that they're smaller, 16-inch, whereas on the Aircross you have 17 inches. Ground clearance is 180 mm, and interestingly, the wheelbase is different from both the C3 and the C3 Aircross and sits in the middle at 2651 mm. The door handles, this hasn't changed though, and you still have the flip or the lift type door handles, and I wish that was changed. One big change though is the outside rear view mirrors. These are now electrically operated with a power fold function, so that is definitely an improvement. Now at the rear, as I was saying, the glass slopes down really nicely, and there is a flat deck here, almost sedan or fastback style. Looks really good, and it is formed into a lip spoiler. I also like these two blisters here. That's actually there to house the hinges for the tailgate, but it looks really nice and aerodynamic and sporty. Also sporty are the taillights, which have a twin-winged style with a good depth between them. Now since we're at the back here, let's take a look at the boot. Capacity is slightly lower than the Aircross, but still impressive at 470 litres. The biggest change the Basalt brings is inside, and let's begin at the back. Okay, now at the rear, the first thing I want to check out is the headroom. The sloping roof, well, it has brought down obviously the roof line inside, but there is still headroom for me. In fact, I've got about 4 or 5 finger space above, so that's pretty comfortable. I'm about 5'8", so you'll get an idea of how much room you have inside. Legroom too, as you can see, this seat was set to my driving position, and I've got ample amount of legroom, and I can stretch out my legs here, so very, very comfy there. And speaking of comfort, I'm really happy with these seats because they are really quite comfy, and what I like is this little winged head restraint, because you can lean back and take a nap in there. It holds your head and prevents it from falling down. You've also got a flip down armrest, and very, very interestingly, Citroen, well, innovative is something the French do. They've got adjustable thigh support, so you won't hear us complaining about a lack of thigh support, because as you can see, I can adjust it in sort of different steps. Even the lowest setting though, I have to say, is a little too high, and some people might have wanted it a touch lower. The other comfort bit that's nice to see is rear AC vents. Now the C3 Aircross did have the rear AC vents up here on the roof, and it was kind of like an ISO. I'm really glad to see it down here, and there are 2 adjustable units here as well. Moving to the front, there's a lot here too that's new, and the good bit is a lot of it trickles down to the C3 and the Aircross too. And let's start with this, the key, because earlier you had the fixed key. This one is now a flip unit. The other big thing I'm really happy to see is climate control. You finally have an auto AC system, and there are nice little toggle switches here which are very, very easy to operate. Other changes, in addition to the phone pad that you had earlier, which we did criticize because phones would fly off there, it being a hard plastic, it's still there, but below that you have a rubberized and a wireless charger too. Also, another good thing that's gone is the shared power window switches. So you had the power window switches here shared with the rear. The driver now has 4 power window switches, and each door has their own switch too. The armrest, this is now a sliding unit, and there is also some storage underneath. A few more little updates that I have seen around here is, of course, the power folding outside rear view mirrors, and the dashboard. While it remains the same, the material now seems a little softer to touch. The rest remains the same, so you have this little stylish gear knob, the same steering wheel with the controls up here, and the seats, well, I'm happy to see they are, of course, carried on because they really are comfy and hold you in quite comfortably. In terms of safety, 6 airbags are now standard, but we'll have to wait and see how the Basalt performs in a crash test because the EC3 performed very poorly. Auto. What does it feel like from behind the wheel? Well, if you've seen our reviews of the C3 Aircross, you'll know we really like this engine, and I have to say, yes, I love it. It being a turbo, of course, there is some lag, but once you're past that, power delivery is linear and strong all through, and pretty soon you'll be doing 2 and 3 digit speeds. It's an engine that can happily be pushed further into the rev band, and with its responsiveness, it's something you'll end up doing often, and the gearbox is happy to play along too. Speaking of gearboxes, what does the automatic feel like? Well, it's very interesting because it has a manual mode too, and as you can see when I'm going through gears, so whether it's shifting up or shifting down, it's really smooth. You don't have to even lift off the throttle. You can just command away an upshift or 2 or a downshift, and it's really